Welcome to the Style My Mind podcast. On this show, we decipher the secrets, tips, and guidance of fashion and psychology with the world's most inspiring people. Our mission is simple: to help you transform the way you express, dress, and define yourself inside and out. Today's guest embodies that mission in the most unique way possible. Francesca Vuillemin is a model turned astrologer whose work bridges the cosmos, sustainability, and style. With a career spanning high fashion modeling, brand strategy, spiritual consultancy, she empowers individuals and brands alike to live and dress with deep intention. We're going to explore how the planets influence our personal style, how astrology can be used as a tool for self-understanding, and what it means to dress in alignment with your inner universe. Francesca, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here.
Jennifer, what a beautiful introduction. I feel like you described my soul. It's like, how does anyone describe with such love? Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be here. I love what you do. I love your podcast, and I think it's so important.
Thank you so much. I'm so appreciating that. And I mean, I'm so glad that you're here, and you will bring such a very different perspective on things. But yeah, let's get started. Like, your career path is incredibly layered: modeling, wellness, sustainability, astrology. Can you maybe take us back to the moment you discovered astrology as more than horoscopes, but as a guiding philosophy?
Absolutely. So it's really interesting. I was about 8, and I feel that when we're small children, we get sort of glimpses, and even as an astrologer, you see certain patterns starting at certain ages that sort of lead you to, your kind of milestones in life. And I was 8 years of age, living in Strasbourg, France, where I was born, and I'm sitting under the table, my dad's first wife, and they were talking with my mother about astrology. And my mother was going through some difficult times, and I realized around that time my mother would have been going through Saturn return. So we'll talk about what that means later. But it was through hearing the way that this tool helped my mother that it really clicked. And also bringing it back to psychology, they talked about this one astrologer who was a Jungian analyst named Liz Green. And it all kind of just went, I don't know, it was this amazing feeling that came through. And then, of course, I'm a very sensitive person. And we talked about this in our first meeting. I was always trying to figure out, why do I feel certain things? And how is it that it's, I can't put my finger on it, whether it's something going on my belly or whatever. The astrology was able to help me articulate it so that I could then go and see my doctor, see my therapist, talk to somebody about what was going on inside, and then articulate it. And it was through that process, even when I was working, when I was modeling, for example, I would be, it's really the art of rejection. You go there, you show your book, you look at it, it's like rejection. But interestingly enough, I would be able to see these patterns between the people that would hire me and our charts, and especially in certain parts of our charts. And that's when you kind of realize, gosh, it's all about energy, and it's all connected. And so understanding how we all work, that really helped me even, work with clients. It's like I understood somebody's a water sign, how to work with them, with the camera. Somebody's a fire sign, you better work fast, these interesting things. And then when I was going into, the branding and marketing side, and I also worked in retail, having to manage the energy and understand these subtleties, because we're more than just this. And so that's where the astrology really came in as a tool.
That's such an interesting. So it has been with you for a very, very long time. I mean,
Yes.
that's absolutely amazing. For the audience, I don't know much about astrology. I know my star sign. I know my rising, like my ascendant. Is that how you call it, right?
Yes,
And then
exactly.
and I do know my Chinese sign because of
That's
the
right.
birth year, but that's all. But for you all out there to listen, we are doing something a little bit different this podcast episode, because I actually sent Francesca my star chart. She knows more about me than I do now.
No. It's
So, but
co-creation.
exactly. But maybe, Francesca, maybe you can give us a little bit of an introduction for people who, like me, have no idea about astrology, like what it
Absolutely.
is, what's the main signs that we should probably focus on most, say about us, and yeah, how it all works. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, firstly, even though I know quite a bit, I always say I will never know everything. Even, the greatest astrologers of our time have been doing it for 50, 60 years. They continue to learn. What is really beautiful is that it is an ongoing process of understanding these nuances and connections, because as the child develops, so do we. And so really, when you look at your birth chart, it's like, and that's why when you said it to me, I was like, it's almost giving you this kind of like a structure of potential. It's like, oh my gosh, it's like, this is what could happen. And then the trick is, as a human, it's part of a bigger thing, right? You have the need to understand your body, your mind, all these things. But what it gives you is this sort of almost a testing. Like, it's funny, I've always loved fashion. Interestingly enough, Jennifer, you have what we call the top part of your chart, which is career, which is how you want to be seen. You have Venus at the top of your chart. Venus is beauty. Venus is aesthetic. Venus is women. Venus is partnerships. And I just don't think that's a coincidence. Every time I see these things, it's like, or even like, you see when I do charts of couples that have been together for 40 years, you're just like, your soulmates, right? And they're like, yeah, it's so beautiful. It really confirms what you already feel. But at the same time, I don't believe you can tell somebody who they are. That is, I think, I don't think it's ethical. I don't think, but it's like, did you know you have this gift? Did you, and then it's like, oh, I do have this, or so really it's kind of a description with a sort of it's like you're given a set of colors, and then you're there with your easel and you're painting your life. And there are times when certain parts of your chart get activated. So your rising sign, for example, which is Virgo, that gets activated a little bit. Obviously it's activated when you know your time of birth, you take that first breath, but really you hit your rising sign around 30, when you sort of really come into yourself. And as you go sort of through, your chart, you move around, because the chart moves anti-clockwise. So it starts with the rising sign, it kind of loops around, and then you have the top of the chart, which is your career area, which is the midheaven. I always joke around, is like what people say about you when you leave the house. And I mean, you're Venus, like I'm like, she's beautiful, she's everything about you. And there's just certain things that you see that are activated. And that's why even there is times in our lives when partnerships are stronger, and you can sort of see that. But I also tell people, we already know really what we are, but we have to kind of undo some of the cognitive stuff. This, it's all the, oh, my mom said this, or this teacher at school said this. And
yes.
totally. And it's just, and isn't it great that we have this tool? Because that's what it is. I go, oh my gosh, that's like guessing your soul. I could never do that, But the idea is we look at it together, or even sometimes I love, because I don't look at my stuff every day, because that's crazy. But I'll be like, why am I feeling a bit like this today? And then I'll see it and I go, got it. Okay. Then I can work with it. But the key is, it's almost like, I guess they say, when you're angry, don't hold on to it. Otherwise it becomes internalized. It's just like something that's going on. And the more you understand yourself, the better you can show up, right? You're not relying on other people to tell you you're so this or that. And even with my clients, like, I tell them, I don't want to see you for a year. I want you to be successful. That's like honestly my joy. You shouldn't be calling up your astrologer every other day. That is not a good sign. That's not at all what we're about.
Yeah. I love what you were just saying, like with the disclaimer, pretty much, that it's so important that you don't let yourself define fully by this, but you take from it what you need. And you said something about like 30 years. Like I turned 30 2 years. So what does that have to do with my rising sign?
Just really stepping into the rising sign. It's almost like what you want people to see you as. And that's where again, the persona, what you feel like, your wardrobe changes around 30, you change your hair, you do things like that. And it aligns, because we're wanting to say, look, this is what I want you to see me as. It's almost like, this is my, I don't want to say mission statement, but it's like kind of like, this is what I want people to see me as, And it's interesting because even the Virgo glasses, I know you love Iris Apfel. She was a Virgo, and it's interesting that you have that sort of connection with her. We pick up these things, and it's like, it's literally what you want people to see you as. So when you turn 30, there was a shift. Yes, you're a Cancer, but you have, this other element. And yeah, it's beautiful. It's ongoing process of development,
That's so fascinating, and I love that. And I mean, we're here on a fashion psychology podcast, so this is like even more interesting. And you already like spoke to the fact now that the rising sign is very focused on how other people, how I want to project, so to speak, what I look like outwards. And clothing is a
Yes,
big tool for that, right? Because it's one of the
yes,
biggest non-verbal communication tools. So many people think probably when they think about astrology, they think about their sun sign. Like in my case, I'm a Cancer. That's usually when people ask me, like, "Oh yeah, I'm a Cancer." I don't elaborate on all of the other signs that I'm like born into. So can you maybe help our listeners understand how like a full chart, like rising sign, moon signs, planetary transits, can
yes,
influence their sense of style?
absolutely. Well, it's really interesting because for the chart, your sun is kind of your it's the center. It's the heart of your chart. And so really the idea is like, what is that? Well, I really want to create something. It's the heart energy. It's what you want to, you know, bring into significance in this
Hmm.
day, in this life that you have. But the moon shows what you need on a daily basis, like your nurturing needs. So I always joke around, if you have a roommate and your moons are incompatible, I mean, if you've got someone with a very like, Virgo moon, you've got someone with a, I don't know, like another Gemini moon, it could be like a disaster because there are things that you need that are just non-negotiables. Like you need to have certain structure. So really what's beautiful about it, it can sort of show how you need to take care of yourself. So, we always talk about, these, you see new moons, full moons as important things that happen, these transits. And this is really important in terms of setting good habits for yourself for the month. And if you think of yourself, I think of us as a garden, and the idea of like you plant a seed on a new moon, you're planting this idea for your development. And then you're harvesting what you've worked on throughout the weeks leading up to that full moon. And I think then it's just sort of this ongoing development that happens. So that's those transits. And we are right now, of course, as we spoke about earlier, we have a Mercury retrograde, we have a Venus retrograde, which is actually an amazing opportunity to turn the energy of, Mercury is our lens, the way that we see things, the way that we communicate. That's why it rules business, all those sorts of things. So that's why people are like, oh, I'm panicking. Don't panic. Take that time to, the retrogrades bring the energy inwards. So a Venus retrograde is a really good time to rethink about what you value, how you show up for other people, or how they're not showing up for you. You're like, no, I'm always doing this for you, and you're not. It's a good time to equal it out. So these energies can be really helpful to sort of fine tune yourself. And I keep getting, it's funny, I'm the last few nights I've been waking up in the middle of the night around 3 o'clock in the morning, getting a lot of sort of what I call downloads sort of coming through. Imagine that your heart is an instrument, and that every day you're sort of tuning it little by little to really align yourself with what you're supposed to do. I don't think it's a coincidence that we have so much heart trouble in the world, whether it's heartache or, even, physical illnesses linked to the heart. I think we're out of tune with our hearts. And I think that's why these transits sort of help us reset. And Venus is connected I mean, it's not just love, it's also our relationship to ourselves. So again, they give you information. And so the chart is kind of like, the areas of life. You've got family, you've got creativity, and sometimes you have things that are, not there. You may not have a planet there, but it's still there, which is actually quite universal, because even if you don't have something in common with someone on the surface, you actually may have it somewhere else. So in a way, we can find commonality with our fellow humans. Even if you don't agree with someone, there's always something.
That's absolutely amazing. I'm just like think like this is so much input. I'm like trying to process it in real time, and it's so fascinating because I mean, yeah, humanity. That's also why I'm always like talking about clothing as being a tool more than just to dress our wonderful, beautiful naked bodies, because it can bring us together in groups. It can open doors or leave doors ajar for people to feel comfortable talking with you and everything. So yeah, it's just such a fascinating conversation, um and yeah, it brings us all together in a way. And I mean, we were brought together through your topic and mine, so why not?
It's incredible. Even, do you know how many people I've met just, like even during Fashion Week, just standing in line, just talking. So I love your outfit. just genuine. This is what opens the doors, literally.
Yes.
And and that's also your work, like opening the doors of the closet, being like, what's going on here? Oh, this is what I went through this phase, or and it's so beautiful. It shows you so much. I joke around. I feel like the closet and what you're looking at Instagram, like the discovery page says everything about you. Like mine's baby animals and kind of crazy stuff. Is this what you're looking at? It shows you what you're at. And when I'm not feeling at my best, my closet's a mess. That is just absolute. Do you notice that with your
Yes.
clients? Like it's just a disarray.
Not only with my clients, also with myself. I mean, if my apartment looks like a bomb has fallen, then my husband usually is like, "Okay, honey, we need to recenter, we need to clear," because my brain usually projects its messiness outward. So, and that falls onto the wardrobe too. So, we're not alone in this. That's a good thing about it.
Really good to know.
I like also like the whole thing what you said with like commonality, right? I mean, in the end, there is something that we have in common with you working with astrology and me working with fashion psychology, because in the end, I want people to understand, and I think my podcast listeners are starting to get sick of me repeating it over and over, but I will repeat it until it sticks. So
it's the rooster.
Exactly. It's the rooster.
You're here to wake people up. I said that to you. I was like, yep, that's the rooster. Wake up, people. And you're a metal rooster too. Oh, no, you're a fire rooster.
Yeah. So for me, it's so important that people look at their wardrobe and utilize it as a tool for how you feel rather than how you just something to dress in. Because in the end, like every single woman out there had at least once in their life this moment where I'm like, I have so many clothes and I have nothing to wear. But in the end, yes, but you might have to look at it and not ask yourself, what am I going to wear today? You should ask yourself, how do I want to feel today? And that will definitely shift how you are looking at your wardrobe. Because if you want to feel comfortable, but still like, for me as an example today, I wanted to feel a little bit French, a little classy. And then I was like, okay, but I also want to be comfortable. So I was like, okay, for the audience who's not watching, I'm wearing like a navy blue and white striped turtleneck. And then my big black glasses, I have my finger wave back in and my red lipstick. And I kind of like wanted to kind of embody this, but this shirt is super comfortable too. So I'm comfortable in moving around and so I looked at how do I want to feel and who do I want to be rather than what should I wear, because that's too broad of a question.
Yes, I love it you said, because when I was looking at my wardrobe too, I just want to wear something simple because I want the conversation to speak for itself. And I also I thought, what if she's wearing something really fabulous? I want her to shine. I was really, so I was like, and then of course I'm wearing my B by Alex Monroe, who I love because it's like also sustainable gold. Because for me, it's like, again, like you don't want to wear anything that's going to have bad energy. I mean, we're crazy about that, you and I. I feel like we really care. We're very.
You do. We have to.
We have to care.
We have to care. Yeah.
And it's interesting. I was listening to, because I love podcasts, so much I love yours. And I was listening to a podcast, and there's Graydon Carter, who founded Vanity Fair, and he said something so interesting about sort of care and anxiety, and how it kind of, in a way, kind of goes together. Because if you care, you do have that like level of anxiety that you want to do a good job, and you really just want people to feel appreciated. And I think anyone working with you would feel that way because you really care. Even the way that you approached me, it was very considered, and I just think that is so important right now. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think we need to step forward and talk with each other more compassionately. I had this conversation yesterday too, where we were discussing how people just don't care anymore because the world is going off in flames and people are very, very worried and very scared, especially the younger generations. And I think that in the end, what is left is humanity and us needing to talk with each other. So, and if I can do my little support through my little bit of clothing knowledge that I have, it's
little bit. Yeah, I was like, that's so Virgo rising to downplay. It's like, oh no, like I don't really know anything. Like, it's so funny. When you said that, I was like, oh, that's the rising sign right there. Meanwhile, a stack of books everywhere, like research. Yeah, it's great.
True. Yeah, it's a big imposter syndrome that I always blame it to, but interesting to know that that has something to do with my rising sign as well.
Because you know what? It's interesting. Virgo is this. It actually is connected to digestion and processing foods. So it's almost like, what am I keeping? What am I leaving? It's just always analyzing. What happens is it can be like analysis paralysis. So it's like, oh, I've got too much information. What do I do? Because it's like you care. It's like all this information. It's so cool. It's so cool, and but you'll continue to grow. I think it's people that think that they're comfortable and that they don't need to grow. I think that's probably a little scarier because that means that they're limiting themselves, you know? So that's how
Yes.
I
Yeah, I always say that you can only grow if you get comfortable with the uncomfortable, and for that you have to step into the uncomfortable, which is very outside the box and very out of comfort zone. So,
I joke around like when someone's going through, we talked about transits earlier, when you're going through certain transits, it's just embrace it. Be like, I'm ready for it. Almost like, when you have pain somewhere, smile through it. You're like, okay, I can do it. That's how you can like push through,
yeah.
but then that's what a breakthrough happens. A breakthrough doesn't happen on softness. It's a breakthrough. It doesn't happen through cushiness. It has, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, humans are amazing. Like, we're so
Yes,
incredible, you know?
absolutely, we are indeed. Now that you spoke about the transit briefly again, I can actually circle back to that now because I actually do have a question. How do planetary transits or retrogrades, as you
Yes,
spoke to earlier as well, affect the way people feel about their appearance or choose what to wear? I mean, it's kind of interlinks with what I do like every
it
single day.
is. It's incredible because Mercury again is the messenger. So right now we have Venus, which is aesthetics. So when you have the combination of the messenger and aesthetics, kind of going backwards, I joke around with my clients like, do not get a haircut. Like don't do things that are different to what, like, don't just rebel against. It's almost it's more of an internal. You don't want to put on your best dress or your best outfit because you're a bit more like, I want to be a little bit inside of myself because the energy is inwards. So during those transits, you're kind of a little bit more, oh, I don't know, do I want to say that? Or you're second guessing yourself more because in a way, you're rethinking about your steps. But then what's beautiful is when things start moving, which for everybody, May is going to be a beautiful month. I just want to say that it's going to be so nice. We're really transitioning to that. But right now it's a bit like one step here, one step back. And so it causes some like looking at your wardrobe, like, I'm not inspired. Oh my God, I hate this. It's that sort of energy, but it's temporary. But if you know that, the problem is if you think, is there something wrong with me? Like, or am I having a meltdown? That's where that comes in, right? So it's all,
Mm,
so those energies coming. If, for example, you're having there's another planet that is really, really interesting, which, especially for women, it's not talked about so much because, we always talk about Venus but Mars is how you take action, how your drive. And we just had, sort of October through recently, Mars retrograde. And when that happens, it sort of puts a bit of a curveball to the way that you have your plans put in motion. And if you're somebody who has strong Mars in their chart, if you're in Aries, or if you have the planet very, strongly, placed with your other planets, you can really feel like, what is wrong with me? Am I losing my mind? Am I sick? So it's really interesting to see that. And again, once you know that, you can work with other professionals and be like, I'm seeing this, and then it completes the puzzle because this is just one little tiny piece of the whole thing.
I love that. I'm not sure how strong my Mars is, but like last October and November, like I broke away from my corporate job and I actually did a massive transition shift. So I don't know if
I'm
that's
looking at
written
your
in
Mars
there.
now. I'm looking at your Mars now. So you have a Mars in your first house. So this is also that, let's get it going. Let's make this is, and it's very close to the ascendant, which is your rising sign. So again, you have this really good balance in your chart. You've got Venus, but you've also got Mars. Like, hey, yeah, I'm going to make it beautiful, but let's go. It's a beautiful. So that's also why you read about Cancer and you're like, that doesn't really resonate with me.
No.
Because, I'm going to say this. This is the problem with the patriarchy. It's just everything has to fit in one little neat box. That's not the way the world works. Everything is working together. I mean, if you look at the DNA strands, right, everything is just sort of like moving together. Our charts are kind of like that too. It's just a wheel. And you can't just say, well, this is this and this is that. And, oh, should I be dating this person? It's like, there's so many nuances. And even the fact that you have that person in your life should mean something. So the fact that you had that in October, funnily enough, do you know that the retrograde was in Cancer? So
I know. Yeah, I've been told, like, I have a few friends who are very much into and interested in astrology, but when we talk with my friends, like, everyone was like, oh my god, you are a Cancer, we're going to Cancer retrograde, like, you have a massive shift happening. And I'm like, they told me that after I was like, yeah, I just quit my job. Okay, good to know.
yeah. But
I'm doing this now full time. I'm stepping into what I want to do and what I want to embrace, and my purpose in life I'm stepping into now fully. And it's also funny that you just said that, because with Mars being like this like planet that takes action, like I am like that. I am like that very much so. And I always blamed like my German heritage, because we are raised very much like
love it.
I'm the older sister, it all kind of makes sense. So that's really fascinating. Do you believe that we unconsciously align our like style with cosmic energies, even if we're not aware of it?
You know what's interesting? I do think we pick up on subtle things. Like for me, I don't know, and of course everything is personal, but I do think change of seasons. I see people's wardrobes changing. Like right now in New York, we're starting to see a little bit of cherry blossoms and the energy. People are shifting. They're dressing differently and they're acting differently. They're a little bit nicer, or like for different seasons, you feel like in December you want to be festive. There's things happening. Because that's Jupiter, that's Sagittarius. Then you get to January, that's Capricorn. It's like, let's get back to work. Let's wear these colors. And I think that there's a certain, and again, what I said about that tuning of our instruments every day, if we sort of can adapt to it. But I don't believe that just because you're a Leo, you should wear red, and you should, I think certain things can help you. Like for me, I love neutral tones because it helps to ground me with my Virgo rising. But I just think that again, it does what I think the opposite of what I aim to do, which is to free people to be like, oh, I got this. I know what this is, whereas I think if you're telling people, I will say though, if you do feel a bit low energy, I mean, colors have vibrations, just like, I love my crystals. And, in winter, I carry a citrine rock with me when I go to events. It's big crystal, and people are like, you carry a rock in your bag? I'm like, on the Upper East Side, some ladies wear their rocks. I carry them in my bag. What can I tell you? And it's like, I need that energy because we have this much daylight, just like you also in Northern Europe. It's these sort of things, different colors can help you. Or if you're going through, for example, a Saturn transit, which is, going through, and actually Saturn transits happen every 7 years, which is interesting because think about the body, right? It's a physical change every 7 years. But if you're going through your Saturn return in your late 20s or late 50s, or another one, if, God willing, you stay, you wearing colors that ground you for the changes coming are very important. Just like, for example, there's another big transit that is very amazing, and this is a Pluto transit. And when you go through a Pluto transit, literally you want to purge what you have that doesn't serve you. And I feel like I'd be so interested to see whether or not your clients were going through Pluto transits or certain things, as if you look about like the history of sort of the global financial markets, the changes in our structures happen when there's a Pluto transit, whether it's 2008. It's really interesting to see that, and it's aligning those things. And when you have a Pluto transit, you want to really purify, so bring in colors that just feel clean, declutter. So
it's absolutely amazing, and everyone takes away from it what they need from it. So that's the most important part about this podcast anyway.
Exactly.
But what I'm also taking away from it is that you are not like stigmatizing like a certain sign has to look like that, which is fantastic because in the end, as you also said earlier, our identities are so nuanced, and even if I meet someone who almost has the same star chart like I have, they're probably completely different anyway
Very
in their
different.
own way because they were born somewhere different and grew up with different in a different environment. I mean, that's also the part where psychology comes in, right? Because our development in adolescence can vary and shape and form us who we are now. And I love that you say that, like taking almost the star chart like a compass where we kind of pick and nitpick what we need from it. I love that. And I also take away from this conversation that like tapping into astrology, figuring out like what is your star chart, what does that even mean, what does it mean at all, can help you like reconnect with your identity even in a way. Is that did I pick that up
Yes.
correctly?
Oh my gosh. So I just yes, you're brilliant. Your mind, and now I was like, yeah, of course, Mars on the ascendant, Virgo rising. You're so the ability to sort of digest and then make it so succinct. That's one of your gifts, you know. You take all this information and you like package it. You're like, it sounds so good. Even the way you describe it, I was like, oh my gosh. So the answer is yes. And in fact, what's really nice is that what I get a bigger kick out of is when I'm doing a reading with someone and they go, yep, that confirms it, that confirms it. That makes me happy. I I just don't think someone has the universal right to tell you who you are.
Hmm.
I just don't
I
believe
agree.
that. And so I feel that it's really like a little, it's like, oh yeah, I always wanted to do that, but you know, I put my kids first, but I'm going back to this, and it's those moments where you go, oh my gosh, and it's like the eyes lighting up. And so I went to NYU to speak with amazing, I call them the leaders of the next generation. I was so humbled to be speaking in front of this class, and actually my dear friend, and she's a client, she's a professor of I think astrophysics, and she also does like HIV research. She's brilliant.
Wow.
She's a Leo, amazing, so kind-hearted. And I was looking at the charts at the end of the students, and it was so beautiful because I was looking at certain aspects, and I was sharing with them, and they're like, that's the major that I was really wanting to do, but I was on the fence about. And I can't tell you, I was so moved because they knew it, but just a little, it's honestly, that is the most rewarding part of my work, because I was such a strange individual, I was a real oddball, and the things that I liked, and, I think I'm a bit neurodivergent, and, I talked about this before, I'm sober now. I've dealt with a lot of emotional challenges, and I think this tool has been imperative for me, and just to sort of see it, how it can help people. It's beautiful. I knew I had it already in me. I just needed to, you know,
You needed the little tiny push in the end. And that's also the one thing that like I see as a reoccurring theme also with my guests here on the podcast in general. Like people, audience out there, you don't have to be afraid to ask for help. And I'm not saying that like you need to like let someone else determine who you are. Absolutely not. You are who you are, and the only person who universally can decide who you are is you. And no one
yes,
else should even consider trying to tell you who you are. I've lived through that life where someone tried to manipulate it into a way that I have to be someone who I'm not, and I was never more miserable in my life. And I think it's just so important to find this empowerment with you. But also, if you feel like you're stuck or you're kind of like on the fence, then you don't have to be afraid. Talk with people.
yes,
You don't have to necessarily even talk only with your friends because they're biased. You can talk with fashion psychologists, you can talk with astrologers, you can talk with stylists, you
yeah,
can talk with anyone around you who, or a mentor. Mentorship is so
yes,
amazing because
agreed,
because they see you from your potentials perspective. Like when I always talk with my clients, I see, or anyone I talk with, I see the potential in them, and then I ask them, do you want to reach that potential that I see in you, or do you see a different potential in you? And then we're going to kind of align it, because when I speak about the potential I see in them, they have never considered that. They maybe wanted to, but they were so unsure. So I then have to kind of nudge them a little bit to be like, hey, this is what I see. And you don't have to be afraid of what I see, because if I see it, other people see it too. So, and then we can get you over.
it's really interesting that you say that, because even your rising sign is what you want people to see, but it is actually through the relationship, the opposite part of the chart, which is seventh
Mm.
house. Actually, you need the other to help you see yourself, and it's sort of that ping pong ball. It's just beautiful. So what you said is like, oh my God, I just, woo.
I also sometimes think like when we're talking about like identity, I always say that people who are unsure and who are trying to regain confidence, you should always try to figure out what your strengths are. And to be honest, many people think they know their strengths, but people who are the closest to you, they usually see your strength from a different perspective. For an example, like I know that I'm a very compassionate and empathetic person and I like to talk. I mean, that's why we're doing a podcast. Yeah. I mean, I like to talk. Um, but my husband, as an example, he knows me in ways that no one else knows me. And when I sit down with him and I'm like, here, darling, I don't know if I would have to write down like 20 strengths of mine, I probably would get lost after like the third or fourth.
Yeah,
And
I
then I'm
feel
like,
you.
can you maybe like resonate what you see as a strength in me? And then he said something that kind of blew my mind because deep down I kind of knew it, but I didn't really think about it. And he said that because I'm compassionate and empathetic, and I love to listen and I love to decipher and I love to ask questions and research, he said that because you are that like drawn to knowledge and you're drawn to like
Yeah,
understanding people where they are and meet them where they are, people feel comfortable talking with you and they're opening up. And that's kind of why these coaching sessions or in general conversations always are so fruitful, not only for them but for you too, because you take a lot from that as well. And I'm like, that's such a fantastic way to look at it, and I have never thought about it in those terms, but he gave it a name, so that helped me.
that's so incredible. But again, and because he thinks differently, he gives that,
Yeah.
it's the diversification of thought where the
Yes.
magic happens.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
It's like, you know, you're like, wow, it's beautiful. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
There's so much talk right now in America with, everything going on in sort of diversity. And I always think of nature. And I'm like, well, but the apples are not comparing themselves to other things, or it's all working together but differently. If everyone's doing their bit, it's fantastic. If we're all trying to be an apple, problem for the one orange over there.
The thing is also like, isn't the world kind of boring if we only have
Oh,
apples? I mean, it doesn't mean that apples are boring, but if we only have apples and then people try
exactly,
to be an apple even though they're an orange, um,
exactly.
they're also not showing up as authentically as who they are. And we should
Yeah,
celebrate the individual rather than trying to put
yes,
them into a box. So I totally agree. And I love that astrology, fashion, like all of this kind of has this in common in the end. Um,
yes,
but in a different perspective. So I just really love this. And I think this is also a really interesting conversation for everyone. Just for a bit of advice, I guess, for someone who is new to all of this, what's probably one practical way to begin incorporating astrology into their wardrobe decisions? Because I think it might be tough because we talked a lot about me now, but not everyone is a Cancer and has a Virgo in the rising. So
well, at least they can sort of see, and that's why even like
yes.
even if you wanted to, you could put your chart up just to sort of see. It's it's almost like a like points. It's almost like, okay, you're pitching a tent. Here's this point, here's this point, here's this point. Okay, and then because there's so much to sort of go into it, but the very, very first thing that you can do is you can actually go and find your details online. There's actually an amazing website. It's called astro.com, and it's been around for a very long time. It was actually, I think Liz Green is one of the contributing writers to the website. They have a lot of things also on the archetypes too, which is very, very present in psychology. And so there's really interesting articles on there. You can sort of see what your chart looks like and even start getting a feel for the visual, because I know there's apps where they list everything, but if you are not if you're a visual person, it might make more sense to see it as a context, and then you
Mhm.
sort of see, okay, there's more happening at the top of my chart. That's interesting. What does that mean? It means I'm supposed to be more visible. And if you are supposed to be more visible and you're in a job where you have to be behind the scenes, like, let me tell you, you do not need to be behind the scenes. You're supposed to be very visible. I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad you're doing this, because if you were like behind the scenes, like, but the wonderful thing about your chart, for example, you've got that strong ascendant and Mars. So it's that like, I'm ready to go and I'm happy to do the behind the scenes, the details, but I sure as hell, I gotta be here. It's that really good energy. So kind of looking at those points, you're going to start discovering things and you'll be like, oh yeah, I've always wanted to do that. Why not do that? Why did, those are the magical moments. And you don't have to, I mean, like I said, you don't have to look at your chart every day. That's absolutely insane. You want to live your life, not try to analyze stuff, right? It's very, and then through that, even sort of look at your wardrobe and go, gosh, I've got so much, Venus in my chart. Why am I wearing black all the time? Why am I, that sort of thing. And I think it could really help people just to sort of see those things as they move through their wardrobe, or even, shoes. I'll tell you something, people with Pisces in their chart, they have to have comfortable shoes because Pisces rules the feet, it's just little things like that,
I love that. Okay, so it's good to know your chart. It's good to have awareness of it, but you don't have to define yourself through it. And then just reflect on it, like also maybe internally where you want to be. So it's always the kind of same question of like, who are you now and who is your future self that you want to embrace? And how does your star chart already kind of hinting towards that, and then just starting to become aware of that. So I'm going to put this website that you just spoke to, astro.com. I'm going to put that into the info box so people can have a look. And what do people need? So they need their birthday,
Yes.
They need their birth time, preferably hour and minute.
Hour and minutes, and within, if you can have your exact birth time, that is phenomenal. However, if you can have within 4 minutes, that's the best. It just gives more precision. You can still find so much, but if you really want to go into the weeds, if you have a lot of Virgo in your chart and you're like, I need to research this, you're going to love this. You're like, oh, this is amazing, and it's almost, at first you're almost like, this is really amazing. And it can almost be like, this is a little bit addictive. Don't get addicted. Just be like, that's interesting. Put a pin in it, because at the end of the day, you're the master of your ship. And that's really what the ascendant is. It's like the director of your ship. It's kind of directing you in life, it's steering you. But it's steering you so that you can actually be the best version of your sun, which is what you got born into, because you have your sun at the very last degree of Cancer.
Wow.
So interestingly enough, you have a Leo moon. So your moon in Leo, the moon for a woman is very important. So, because it's more of that sort of expression of the reflective side, it's more of that sort of the energy of feminine, sort of how you want to project your feminine. And here you are projecting this beautiful red lip and nails. That's the moon, that's the reflection. But your sun also wanted to have that nurturing, kind quality. So there's this beautiful, glamorous energy, but there's also this loving, nurturing vibe that together work. You know what I mean? So it's all working in harmony. When you fine tune it, right? Like when it's not, then it's like,
yes,
what's going on?
I have to admit, like, you have given me also some freedom today, because for the stereotype around Cancer is right, like you're family oriented, you're very, like, a lot of mothers are like Cancers and stuff, and that might be true for some, but I am nurturing in a different way. And I am not like, my audience, my listeners, my followers, they know that, like, I don't have children. I'm not planning on having children.
Me neither.
And for me, this was always like, when we talk about astrology, you're like, oh, but you're a Cancer. And I'm like, no.
Here we go. Yeah.
No, we're not working with the stereotypes of that now, because there is more to me than just my sun sign. That's what I've learned now. So it kind of validates that just in general way more. So thank you so much for sharing all of that. And I just think that in the end, when we're talking about fashion advice, right? If you feel like you need to embrace your softness that you have in your star chart, and you're not doing it because you are stuck in a situation that you feel like you have to be strong and you have to be always there, maybe the stars are telling you that you can allow yourself to be a bit softer. And so if you want to embrace pink again because you feel like this is the color you hated because you got it drilled out of you, or you want to wear soft, flowy dresses, even though you are maybe in a mindset where you think that this doesn't suit you, step away from this and allow yourself the grace to tap into the person that who you truly are. And I think that's so, so, so important. And it frees you. It frees you. So
It's so beautifully said. I love that. Especially, people talk about manifesting and all this. I was like, just just be. Just
yes.
be. I mean, there's only one of you. And the entire, like, so there was a reason for that, right? Like, why are
Yeah.
you trying to explain yourself? Be the you. Like, what, you think about, like, the joy, like, what brings you joy, you know? I mean, that's, like, the greatest place to start. Look at, look at your wardrobe, be like, I danced my ass off in that skirt. That was a great skirt. Like, okay, that's go for that. Start with that. Be whimsical. We talked about this even during the pandemic. We shared this in common. I thought that was so telling of you. And I should have known you had a Leo moon. We were both like, oh yeah, what did you do during the pandemic? I was working in a ball gown, like, at home in confinement. I'm like, that's beautiful, because why not? Why is it that we have to, fit all this stuff? I mean, I think we're at a point in history where there's actually a very big planetary change happening. I mean, quite a few things, but this one in particular really sort of speaks through to my, I don't know, to my understanding of things. I think we're dissolving the things that don't serve us, and we're stepping into being able to really build a vision of who we are, because I think we're also realizing that the world that was built was not really maybe the world that fit for us.
Yeah.
And I think everybody deserves a seat at the table.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think that's going to really help to clean stuff out. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. And also for the audience to just feel like a little bit of motivation there, or for you all to also just feel validated. It's so important that your feelings are all valid, and you're feeling stuck, you're feeling like you're not good enough. These feelings are there for a reason, and it might be a sign that you have to maybe step away from certain people, that you maybe have to clean out your wardrobe and just figure out like what serves you. And maybe you are also just in a transition period where you just need to figure out, who is this person I am becoming, rather than who am I trying to still hold on to, who I'm not anymore. This was a very big difficulty for me that I had to work through, even with therapy, where we're
yeah,
talking about we're trying to grieve a person that has already gone, and that person was me, a version of me that I held on to. But then I realized that as soon as I can let go of that person, I can let something else grow that's even bigger and even better and even more amazing. And that also then removes the worry of people, like what they think about us. Like for me, as an example, like of course I get hate, of course I get like comments, and I'm not aligning with everyone, and that's fine. That's why we're individuals, right? We don't have to get on with every single person out there. um
exactly.
but if my purpose can serve one person alone, if one audience members today looks into their wardrobe and they're like, oh yeah, I can actually embrace who I want to be, then my job is done. And that's so important, that you just like figure out what's best for you and which tools work for you. And if that is astrology, if that is fashion psychology, if it's a combination of both, if it's something completely different, that's totally fine. So
Exactly.
just figure out
Exactly.
what works for you.
It's funny when you said that. I just keep, I don't know, I keep going back to the heart, and we all have a heart, right? So it's like,
Mhm.
the word for heart is cœur in French. Courage. It takes courage to be yourself, right? And
Yes.
you're just like, oh God, this feels good. Okay, go with that. Go with that. That's your compass right there. And it's like, does it feel good? Yes or no? Okay, well, let's keep moving. And we could imagine if everybody was dressing how they felt, and it would be, oh, okay, you're dressing about like this today. Oh, let me know how you're feeling. Communicating.
Yeah.
This is, look at animals. I mean, even the idea like garde-robe in French, like it's wardrobe, like you're going, you're you got your armor on, like there's something there,
Mm.
or you don't want your armor, you just want someone to like come up to you and say, I really love your outfit. Like that's an invitation, right? There's so
Yeah.
much.
Be courageous to be who you are. I think that's probably what we need to take away from this. And that also means be courageous to also look at, like, for the people who might not necessarily believe in astrology or who are not
Yes,
not wired
exactly.
in that spiritual way. Maybe this conversation gave you a little bit of a hint of like, hey, maybe if you just have a look at it and you are research oriented and just want to figure out what does it even mean, you can always dismiss it later if you feel like it doesn't serve you. It's just
Exactly.
important that you find your tools that can ground you back into who you are and not let it
Yes.
dictate who you are. So I think that's also really important, what I took away from our conversation.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I feel like I can't stop smiling. I'm so happy. I'm just like, oh my gosh. It's such beautiful energy. And I think people really need to feel that they're receiving information that helps their heart right now.
I love this so much. Francesca, your work really reminds us that dressing isn't just about what's on the surface. It's about honoring who we are at our core, including the cosmic blueprint we're born with. So, if you could give people one key advice to take away from this conversation to improve their relationship with fashion and confidence, what would that be?
So I just love this question so much. The sun being the heart of who you are and what makes you feel the most like how you want to be, experiencing the world. And looking at, maybe if you know your sun is a certain sign, looking at what's the archetype of that, what are the colors that are associated with that sign. I was like, that's interesting. I really like this color. Why do I gravitate towards that? And then noticing when you wear those colors, the things that happen around you, the experiences that get created from those things. So I think that the idea of like the confidence coming from you are walking your path because you are really centered in who you are, that heart center. That would be my words.
I love that. Thank you so much. So there are quite a lot of archetypes around certain star signs and planets.
Yes. So even, like the concept of, Mercury is a messenger, and it's funny that there's, Venus being, she's Aphrodite, Mars being, the warrior. But, this is something that I always find very interesting because there's relationships between parts of the body and the zodiac signs. And I mentioned Pisces before with the feet, but, Mars is connected to your adrenals and how you take action, as well as your immune system. It's kind of interesting how when you get a fever, Mars, it's very active. And we're noticing a lot of issues right now with sort of hormones and, adrenal fatigue. And I just don't think that's a coincidence. I think everything is all interconnected. And so um, what I'm trying to say is that these archetypes all sort of flow in together, but at the same time, you are your own archetype. So it's just interesting to see how it's all woven in. But I mean, if you're a designer, like you might have your vision board of other people's work, but then you're creating a whole collection. That's you.
I like that because it's good to know the archetypes of certain things,
Yes.
but it's also always important to yeah, you are your archetype. I think that's probably the best key message. I'm going to make sure to list all of this also in writing to the adjacent blog post that I usually do with the
Well,
podcast. So I'm going
yeah.
to put there a section in with those archetypes. Francesca, I love this conversation so much. I could talk with you like hours and hours and
I
hours.
feel the same way. But
But we do have a closing tradition on this podcast where we try to raise awareness, challenge people to tap into whatever new transition that they can.
yeah,
So I would like to invite you to share your Style My Mind challenge with our listeners. What's one actionable step that they can take this week to align their wardrobe with their inner universe?
Jennifer, I'm so excited. The challenge I have chosen today, which hopefully your listeners will enjoy, is to find out your rising sign. As I mentioned earlier, it's great to know the exact time, which you can find out through astro.com. And within 4 minutes is also really wonderful. And then from there, look at what color is associated with that sign. And also look at your sun sign too. So for example, if you don't know your rising sign, look at that. Look at those colors and sort of how they work together. And then basically look at your closet. See, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm seeing how I felt good in this outfit, and start to work with those colors. Think of the colors as palettes to create that experience of what you want to create out there. So that's my challenge.
I love that challenge. So, audience, you have heard our Style My Mind challenge from this podcast. Make sure you align one outfit that has something to do with your rising sign, and look at the colors and how they would interact, and then just snap a nice photo. Post it online with the hashtag Style My Mind challenge. Make sure to tag Francesca and I so we can see your beautiful outcomes and to see
repost.
what. Yes, we will repost. Oh, it's such an exciting challenge. I'm going to have to figure out what I have to do because I like to do the challenge alongside it.
The glasses.
Yeah, maybe I have a new set of classes. Maybe I use those for that. So
Definitely.
Francesca, thank you so much. This is absolutely amazing. Where can our listeners follow you, learn more about your work, just leave some love? Where can they find you?
Thank you so much, Jennifer, for asking. So you can find me on Instagram. It's my name. It's Francesca, Francesca, and then M for Mary, V for Victor. And then you can also find me on my website, which is Francesca, and then VUILLEMIN.com. And then I'm also on LinkedIn too. I really love LinkedIn. If I'm not responsive immediately, I do get back to people. It's just can get a little bit overwhelming, but I so appreciate anyone that I connect with. I always think when you meet someone, it's meaningful.
So I'm going to make sure to put all of that also in the info box, that they are just one click away to be able to connect with you and to bring more connection into this world. And I love that. So absolutely, we'll do this. So feel free to connect with Francesca and follow her work. And thank you so much again for being here. And I'm just so blessed. And you looked at my star chart today. That's very
gorgeous.
Cool.
It's gorgeous. You're living your purpose. I'm like, yes, it's amazing. I mean, I'm so excited. It's the best when you see someone living their purpose.
Yeah. And we want that for you all, audience members too. It's so important that you live a life that is worth living. That's just so important. And it needs to be on your terms, not on anyone else's.
Yes.
So audience, if you love this conversation, please like, subscribe, share, do all of these beautiful things. And don't forget to follow us on all of our social media channels. Visit my website for more inspiring content. Look out for this amazing blog post that we have a bit more information for you as well. Until next time, keep your head held high, dress with intention, and never stop styling your mind. Thank you very much.